Hi everyone, welcome back to our neighborhood story. This is our second podcast, second episode of the podcast, and this is about Aucklander who are making a big difference in a community, connecting them and helping them to grow. So we have a special guest today. Before I'm introducing her, my name is Anju Desai, and I have a wonderful Belle who is working behind the camera to show you the magic. So now I'm going to introduce you to today's guest, which is my personal favorite, my inspiration and everything. Some people might guess it, who it is. It's Ranjna Patel. Ranjna Patel is quite well known to many people. I don't think so I have met anybody who don't know Ranjna Patel. So I'm sure you have heard her name. She have done exceptional difference in a lot of things, mainly with the healthcare, as you must have heard Tamaki Healthcare. And also her Gandhi Nivas project is running very well. And so any further to do, I would love you to be introduced to Ranjna Patel. Welcome Ranjana ji.
Thank you Anju for having me.
Thank you so much. Before we go ahead, as you suggested, I will be calling Ranjana ji, as ji is a special way of respecting somebody who is older than you, who have done a lot in front of you. So yes, I will call Ranjana ji. So that's our Indian respect. So Ranjana ji, let's begin with your beautiful, amazing journey you have created. First of all, I'm always curious because I have heard from a lot of New Zealanders who born here thanking me that I'm bringing the culture back to New Zealand, the right culture and things. So that must be quite different for you growing up here and having your background from India. You were born here, right?
No, I was born here.
You were born here. So
yeah.
All that your journey up to your mom's and family background and how you started all this, what inspired you as a child or young woman?
So I'm a third generation Kiwi, born here in Herne Bay above a fruit shop. My grandfather started the fruit shop in the 50s. And my father and my uncle, we lived in a joint family, took over the fruit shop when my grandfather returned to India. And so we all went to Bayfield Primary School, where my father also went, and my uncle, in Herne Bay. So our life lessons were learnt in the fruit shop with new migrants trying to settle here. And so after school, because there were 7 children, half of us would be in the fruit shop helping and the other half would be help cooking after school. Because in those days there weren't many Indians here,
right.
And so our shop was used as a pit stop for new migrants coming over for the first couple of weeks of settling into New Zealand, getting their license, getting a house, and so they would land on our doorsteps. When my parents, my uncle and my dad expanded the business, my mother looked after one shop in Green Lane and my auntie looked after the shop with my dad in Herne Bay.
Which area, what part of the year was that, 1950?
In the 50s.
Okay, wow.
So then my uncle had an accident, so they had to sell the other shop and mum had to come and work here. But I think it was like new migrants settling. You did whatever you had to do, right. Because my aunt and my mum both were brides from India, educated, well-to-do, and then coming to New Zealand and having to do everything and anything, which hasn't changed even today when new migrants come. Some of them have never cooked before. Thank God for Google and YouTube. And people learn. But in those days, it was very different.
Yes. Yes, I can well imagine as coming new person to New Zealand how difficult that was to see how much work you have to do. And because I was that time single mom, I was doing catering and everything. So I couldn't believe I used to work sometime 19 hours in a day. And day after day it was like that. And in India it was quite busy. So I can well imagine your family members struggling with that. What about you? Have you always had a curiosity about cooking? And I think Gujarati food is the best food, as I know from Mumbai. So I really love delicious. Your vegetarian food is amazing. Even your temple food is really amazing. So did you had always interest in that as well?
I think growing up, catering for all the people that came through, you learned to cook. but
Yes.
basic cooks. And like most young girls, I think we learn more after we get married and having to do it. But no, always loved cooking. Used to have lots of parties. Used to love cooking. It used to be no problem having 40, 50 people around.
Yeah.
So, enjoyed doing that part, which has transpired to my children, all three of them.
True.
They love cooking. They love entertaining. So, yeah, I think it's just a passion.
Yes. And I think it's really different world here for Indian person. Like I made the murukku chakli for this Diwali. My mom said, "What for?" She said, "Why didn't you order?" So in India these days, even from my mom generation, nobody is making anything because everything freshly deliver on your doorstep. So we are here still doing everything from scratch and
But a lot better now.
Lot better.
When we were growing up, there was only Healthries, and they used to get their grains probably once every month. And so we had to stock up then. There was no Indian vegetables. So we had a fruit shop, we had fresh vegetables, but all Kiwi ones, none of the Indian vegetables.
Indian vegetables.
And things have changed so much that you can order now. The temple did so many sweets. We ran out, on Diwali Day, that's how many sweets we catered for. And a lot of corporates now are realising, celebrating with their staff, that they will order morning tea, afternoon tea. So a lot of catering is done now. And the palate has changed.
Yes.
When I was growing up, we had to cook after the shop was closed because the smell would put customers off. And now if the smell is there, they go, yum. Yeah, it's changed very much. The demographics of what it is today has changed, plus the palate has changed as well.
True. It's a flavorful food. So always, I used to run a cooking class here at Tituhi, and it was taught by the art teacher, because all the artists were quite involved in that smelling what I'm cooking and everything rather than concentrating. So it was really great experience to see the impact of Indian food on others. And because I'm teaching cooking and I'm doing lots of demonstration, people are really curious. And when my family knows about it, they want to send me books to learn more. I say, what knowledge I have is far more than enough.
And anyone looking at our spice tin,
yes.
The therapeutic goodness in every single spice that we all have as an Indian in our spice tin,
yes.
is good for everything. We sort of think, oh, this smells bad or that, but everything's got therapeutic value as well.
True. And I'm glad that you also know, because I grew up in Ayurvedic family. So my morning never started without turmeric. Turmeric water was the morning tea. If at night you have a turmeric milk with a little bit of ginger powder or something like that. So it was balanced. All meal, every food, warm water, cold water was balanced, everything. And I've been always vegetarian. My mom, if I say I have a headache, she will say, oh, go to friend's house. There was no medication we ever had, and it was all psychology based, that how we think, who we are. So we have such an amazing philosophy. Like I feel so proud to telling people, 4,000 years ago, in India, people used to cure people by meditation. That time the meditation was invented and there was no herb spices. They were just curing people through meditation. So we have a grand history, and glad you also know. You must have learned from your grandmother or about the spices?
No, I think that just came from knowledge recently more than anything.
Okay.
We just used them and we just cooked with them.
Yes.
And then now when turmeric latte came about and you sort of think, oh, but we use that every day in every dish, and so you look into it.
Yes.
So didn't know, didn't understand, but it was taught to you, this is how you cook and this is what you use, and so you did it. Yes. And then you understand why it is that we've got the genes or the health that we have, because we have such a balance in the spices.
True. And it is like quickly I tell you that I teach in a healing spices workshop that the cumin is a cold spice, so you should have, and winter time you should have more mustard. So yeah, you balance out. So there are so many little things that if you pick 5 spices, you can write a book about them, right? So I'm glad to know that you are understanding them more, and hopefully more and more world will understand. And just simply think that you put some fennel seeds and hot water, you have your licorice tea, rather than you buying packet and sachet and a plastic and a cardboard on top of that, and all that thing that you can avoid with the simple spice using. So thank you. I wasn't expecting to hear food from you as a very talented woman. I would like to know about your Tamaki Health Clinic, because there must be something in when you are growing up or after marriage, you must have thought that something has to change or something that inspired you. What was that?
Well, I married arranged marriage, and when my husband was a doctor, when he came to New Zealand, he couldn't get registration. It was like the medical council said, if you get a job, we'll give you registration. The hospital said, get your registration, we'll give you a job. But nobody would act first. And then they, after 10 months, said, sit this American exam and we'll give you registration. And so, to go to med school in India, you have to be in the 98% in order to get in. And then to come here and your degree not recognised is really shattering. So he was told to sit this American exam, sat it, passed, and then went into it. He always wanted to be a specialist. But back in the 70s, a very wise mentor took him under him and said, New Zealand's not ready for a coloured specialist with an accent.
Wow.
So go and do general practice in an area that looks like you and sounds like you. And in those days it was Ponsonby and Otara.
Okay. Wow.
And so from a practice in Otara came up in the 77, and so we bought that and started. Now we didn't have, we weren't financially well off, so we had to borrow 100%. And the colonial model of medicine was 9 to 12 and 3 to 5, and they wondered why people wouldn't turn up. So we realised very quickly we're working in a very poor area, social demographics, economically, and so health was not a priority. So if it was raining, they wouldn't be able to keep the appointment because they had to walk up. In those days, cars and phones were a luxury.
Wow.
And so they would walk up if it was sunny. So appointments weren't going to work. And people can't take time off work because putting bread on the table was more important. And so they would not keep appointments because that would take half a day away. And so mainstream perceived that as Pacific and Māori didn't care about their health. But putting bread on the table was more important. And so we realised we've got to open before school starts, before they go to work, and finish after, they come home from work, where the car comes home. So we opened our clinics from 8 to 6, and we grew, and our peers didn't like it. They thought we were, this dodgy Indian couple, seeing all these patients. So they complained and complained. And then we were asked to take on locums. No, we were asked to stop seeing patients after a certain number. So we took on locums. Because, in the Indian philosophy, when a light comes to your door, you never blow it out. And so people were coming because it was convenient, access was provided. And so we grew and grew, and then we were told, and he says, there's no way I'm turning someone that comes to my door that needs help away. So we hired locums, and hence we grew more and more. So the obstacle that bureaucracy put in front of us, we turned into opportunities. And then we just grew and grew to today, 50 clinics, 330,000 patients. Retired from the business now nearly 6 years ago. And from the board last year. But still doing very well, very community focused. So I think knowing your customer, knowing your patient, what they need, instead of labeling like mainstream labels everybody. I'm always going to look like this, but I'm third generation. I go to India and I open my mouth and I'm a foreigner. So where will I belong? Where will my grandchildren belong?
True.
Because they're still going to look like this. And so, treating people with respect has been our biggest strength, and providing access to whatever service they need.
True, true. And people are learning, I'm sure they are doing their best, but they are still quite isolated in their mind how to be, just be normal with everybody else, you know. There's still a lot of work need to be done, and it is getting done. More cultures coming together to provide the platform that we are just human, you know. We are who we are, but I really appreciate. And look, I think I do know that Indian are the most resilient, not just as an Indian. I know, but they are all over the world working out the way. Where you go in Trinidad, they are Indians selling chole and puri on the street and surviving. So there is strong resilience instinct, and if it is not working, they will make it work, like how you did it.
Adapted.
So yeah, adapted. And it's like a simple thing. You say if you have a mug, why don't you get a square shaped mug? You don't get it, then you try to make it, you know? Like whatever it is that you want to change, you change it. You don't wait for somebody else
You
to
don't
change.
have to wait for the norms. If you
Yes.
know it's not working, then you change it.
Right, yes, yes. So it's wonderful what you have done. And so 6 years ago, you have sold the
Business.
yes. But the start must have been very difficult and quite up and downs, and I can well imagine what you were explaining. Is that any incidents you remember that was quite difficult for you?
I think constantly being challenged by mainstream to make you feel as though you're doing something wrong, you're being dodgy, because they just couldn't understand the diversity of thought. They couldn't understand making access a priority.
True.
I think my husband's thinking was 20 years before his time, because now everybody's doing it.
Yes.
We even developed our online health service well before all the ones that are now publicising that's a new way of doing things, because we knew patients couldn't get to the clinic. Petrol in the car, whatever reason, raining, we just had to adapt to it.
Yes, yes. And understanding that is the first thing. And because coming from even different culture, you understand other people more.
Yeah.
Like I was telling just before that, when I did a fashion show and there were people from Chile and Peru and some different country, they really struggle to even speak up to say hello to somebody else other than their culture. This find difficult to wear the clothes they used to wear in their country, and for a lifetime they think they will be like this. So that's not living. You have to feel confident who you are and
Proud of who you
proud
are.
of. Yes,
I think you do. You do need to adapt to the country you've chosen. You've chosen to leave a country to come to New Zealand, and there are things that are do and don'ts that you must obey.
Yes.
And so if you're not happy to obey the rules of the country, it makes life very difficult for you, and you'll never be happy.
True.
You'll never be content. And so if you've chosen the path to come here, it's so important that you know what you're stepping into.
Yes.
Otherwise, you'll never be happy. And I think that causes more problems than anything.
True, true. And yeah, you're right, because feeling comfortable being who you are, it's the most important, and it can be the most difficult thing for so many people.
Yeah.
We just talked about confidence, and I give all credit to my mom and dad for bringing up the way they brought me up, for me to feel confident who I am. So it's your first step, the way you are presenting yourself, you will teach your kids, and the teach will take to the next generation. So that's really important part. Thank you for sharing.
And I think now with the amount of Indian migrants coming, whenever I go to formal functions, I will put Indian clothes on.
Yes.
Because I want to show them that someone that's been here for this long, you can still be proud of your culture, you can still keep your culture.
True.
Still work with mainstream, and I think it gives people a lot of confidence, as you say, dressing
Yes.
what you feel comfortable in is so important.
True, true. And you will be like quite iconic in a sense, because you have born here and you kept that going, which is amazing, because it doesn't take long for people to change. I was quite converted Indian first 10 years of my life, and then the Bollywood came in my life and it changed back again, and I was like a completely different person. So it's important to just
I think we want to adapt
Yes.
And so we go a full 360 to say, no, this is the way. And then you realise, no, there is value in our way of thinking, value in our culture,
Yes.
and to be proud of it.
Amazing. And I would love to know about Gandhi Nivas project, because that has been, I think it's been how many years?
10 years now,
10
coming on
years.
in 1st of December.
Wow. And how did that came up and started?
Police presented data at the Counties Manukau Advisory Board, New Zealand Police, and they presented data that 1 in 3 women is abused, 1 in 6 boys are abused. Every 4 minutes police are called to a family harm incident, and yet they believe only 20%, that's 1 in 5 women, pick up the phone to ask for help. Everybody else is tolerating it. And so, you know, when you sort of do the maths on that, then less than a minute something's happening in someone's house. And, you know, 1 in 5 women has the courage to pick up the phone. And so I've got 6 granddaughters. I didn't like those stats. And so it says, well, you know, what can we do to make a difference? And so Counties Manukau Police got all the providers, Women's Refuge, Friendship House, Māori providers, Pacific providers, children providers, all working in this space together. And you could hear from the side saying, well, women won't pick up the phone because they are more maternal, more holistic in thinking about things.
Yeah.
If I ring the police, he will get a criminal record, he can't get the next job, we can't go overseas. What about tomorrow? I can do a runner, but what about the kids tomorrow?
Yeah.
And the trauma it causes when a woman has to do a runner.
Yes.
It's lifelong for the children.
True.
And so, you know, I said, well, what's available for men? And they said, if he's in the system, he gets anger management. Otherwise, it costs $1,800 to do. And there's a 6 weeks before you go to the courts and 6 to 8 weeks before you get on a course. Wow. So they've forgotten what the argument was about.
My God,
that the police
yes.
were called to. And so, you know, the providers said that we need immediate service. We need to remove the man. We don't want the woman and the child to be removed from the home. So if we remove the man and there's a house for them, and police said, you know, we turn up at 2 o'clock in the morning to a family harm incident, and we don't know what to do with the man. We remove him, so he sits in the car with a bottle of alcohol. Next morning turns up, even though he's got a protection order against him, saying, look, I've got to go to work, I need to change of clothes, I need a shower. And so the woman would let him back in. So the police said, yes, we need somewhere to take it. So there was 2, provider and police, saying, we need this. And I said, so you need a house, you need bricks and mortar.
Yeah.
You're happy to do the service, they're happy to do the referral. So I says, well, that's quite easy enough to do.
Yeah.
So with the help of police, we found a house and we furnished it. We found a counselling service, amazing counselling service, led by Sucharita. And it's and that's how it started. They volunteered for the first year with just fundraiser and lotteries that came to the party and total health care to help fund it.
Yes.
But literally on volunteers that they did it. And so, you know, on the first year, coming from health and not being in this space, I put in research. So Massey was a partner from day one.
Okay.
And so the first year they did the research, we only had about 100 men. We realised the obstacles. Police had to be retrained in order to bring the man. They're used to taking the man and leaving him. So they had to be retrained, which was an obstacle because they didn't do it. So they had to be retrained, which I didn't factor in my program. But, you know, once the first year, only 100 families they worked with. Also, the counselling service said, we can work with the man, but if we put him back in the same environment, you're not going to get change. You've got to see what the environment, who in the family is involved, what the problem is, and work with everybody. Okay. And so it's a holistic service. Yes. Because 1 in 4 women will pick up the phone, 1 in 5 will pick up the phone. That means, is it the first time this has happened, or is it the last straw on the camel's back?
Okay.
So they go and visit the woman to ask her, do you need help? And then the couples are brought together. The children go into counselling. Everybody's worked with trying to solve what the issue is.
Yes.
Because it's, people ask me what are the main causes. The list is so long. You don't know what the trigger points are. And so first year we had 93% of the men did not reoffend again. But with my hand on my heart, it's not changed behaviour in 1 year, but it proved the program worked, because police would say, we used to go to that house 20 times in a year and we haven't in this year. So they know the address.
Yes.
And, we're always called to something on that house. And so
judgment.
they recognise the change. And then we had a qualitative one, the stories, then the women's stories, the men's stories. And then 5 years we looked at a cohort of nearly 900 men, 5 years prior their history and 5 years after. And with that, 69% did not reoffend again, which is internationally unheard of. And so...
What a great thing to say that. So you said how many percent again?
69.
And that is first time in the world. Wow.
And to me, the biggest success is, to date we've probably had over 1,000 men in the 10 years come back because they recognise their trigger point.
Okay.
That is true change behaviour.
Yes.
Because something's gone wrong in the house and they've removed themselves, which takes a lot of courage. The statistics of 1 in 6 boys are abused. That probably is a lot bigger.
Okay.
Because I think men will not speak up if they're victims.
Yes.
They will hide it more than women will. So, it's an issue. We've had victims through the home as well, where the women have been the perpetrators. So, it's, we've got 3 homes now, and so it's working really well. But it's not me that's done it, it's the counselling service that's doing it, and police that are recognising the problem has to be dealt with different. Yes. We are victim based because we give the woman the power to say he can come back home.
Yes.
Otherwise, we've had comments like, I can still see the anger in his eyes. He's saying the right words, but his anger is there. And so she has that ability to say, no, she can't come back. And men have stayed up in the house for up to 3 months. Okay. Because it takes a lot of unpicking. As counsellors say, the layers of an onion all have to be peeled back.
Wow. And I was, as much as everybody else is working, bringing all the dots together and having that passion to just support, even women, just support the woman who is really struggling. And on that note, I really want to say, if you are in any situation that is troubling you and you understand this is not right, just have a courage to talk to somebody or take the next step. My dad taught me, if somebody is abusing, he is only 50% criminal. You are the other 50% who is taking that. So change it, because you are capable to do any changes.
And that's what I call the victim mentality. We need to change the woman not to feel guilty because it's happened.
That's right.
That victim mentality needs to be stronger. Yes, an incident has happened, but have the strength to speak up.
True. Thank you. Hats off to you. Thank you. Such a 2 amazing project. I am sure that everybody inside recognize, but I know you have been recognized through some awards and exceptional, something that we would love to hear about it. You have awarded for your work.
I'm not going to name them. You cut that.
You won't be able to share the awards?
No, I'm very proud of the awards, but, a kumara doesn't of its sweetness. I've taken the credit for a lot of amazing people at Tamaki Health, the doctors, the nurses, the passionate people that I've worked with. It is all about he tangata, he tangata, he tangata. The people. Gandhi Nivas is only where it is, and because of the police and the counselling service.
Yes.
And I just am so fortunate that I've surrounded myself with some amazing people.
True.
And the pity is I've taken the awards and the credit for everybody's hard work. But, you know, to find people like that is absolutely amazing.
You have been really humble, Ranjana ji, and you have won exceptional awards, and you will find it. She's on Wikipedia as well. You will be able to find it if you are curious. But she is really humble and giving all the credits to others. Sure, it's a teamwork, but you have done quite good job. On that note, do you have anything that you would like to share about inspiring? What is that inspire you to change or take on a project, and what is that you would like to share with people to be inspired?
I think, you know, we all want to do good at the best of times. Some of us, you've got stages in your life, survival to start with. And so, you know, putting bread on the table is so important. And so your first, you know, lot of work you do is doing that. But doing everything compassionately, doing it everything how you want to be treated is so important. And you can always make a difference in so many different ways. You know, and quite often I give the example of what Dalai Lama says. If you think you are too small to make a difference, try sleeping with a mosquito.
Oh, that's a better way to say it. Yes, yes.
And we all can make a difference in the little things we do. I remember someone, one of the sons at the temple saying, a smile, you know, can change someone walking down the street. Someone may be having a really bad day, and if you just smile and they smile back, you may be the catalyst of a good day and a bad day for them.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Like, I think my mom used to say, make your house temple, you know, that everybody will feel enchanted when they come to your house and feel relaxed and no stress. So I always strive for that. When I meet people, they're warm and they welcome and they are connected. So yeah, I can well connect with that. On a short note, that I would like you to talk a little bit about the temple. I've been a big part of it. I think I came many times and I'm amazingly inspired. Ranjana ji have a beautiful temple in Papatoe, and would you be able to share a little bit about it?
The temple is my husband's project. I'm just the worker there. He's very deep into religion, and so he was the founding trustee of Bharatya Mandir in Auckland as well back in '86. And then in Papatoe, as the Indian community grew, he wanted to do a temple. And he was thinking about it for 2-3 years, and then a Samoan church came available in Wentworth Avenue. Wow. And so he bought that, and it took 5 years to turn it into a temple. But it's been a very, very architectural phenomena that he's done there. And realising that building a temple is one thing, but maintenance and repairs is even more. So you've got to make something that's long-term and solid. So, you know, from the exterior being glass reinforced concrete to you know, solid granite being used throughout. And then we outgrew it by the time we built the temple in 5 years. The population in Papatoe just grew so much. And so we've built now a complex behind it. And from when we first started, we would feed about 100 people every Sunday. Now it's up to 700, 800 that will come in for a meal.
Goodness, yes.
And so we've systemized everything. It used to take us 5-6 hours to cook for the 100 people. Now we can do it in 2-3 hours for the 700, 800 people. And so it's... and we wouldn't know 60 to 70% of the people that come through the door. So it's not that you have to be part of the Mandir community to come. Right. People just come. And the events we've had over Diwali, just having our doors open, so many people have just come in to pray and say their prayers and leave. because everybody on the auspicious days wants to be blessed.
Yes, and it's a very natural thing. So Ranjana ji have a beautiful temple, and everybody welcome in that temple to visit sometime. And I can't believe they fed nearly 700 people these days at the temple. So this is all for free, and this is about Indian culture, that the giving and sharing, and mainly sharing the food, is quite important for the culture. And the reason behind that, my mom used to say, if you give somebody money, they want more. If you give them houses, if you give them anything, they want more. But when you give food, person is satisfied and he bless you, and that blessing is everything for Indians. So it's really inspiring, Ranjana ji. I don't have more words to say inspiring, but yeah, you have done an exceptional job, and we are very proud, not just as an Indian, as a New Zealander, that as a New Zealander you have made us feel comfortable. Also, your temple is giving a lot of people like homely vibe, and they can reconnect, and I will get emotional if I don't know. So before that, I just want to say thank you very much for joining me today, making time, because I know how busy your schedule is. So thank you so much. I really greatly appreciate, and I hope I will see you sometime very soon.
My pleasure.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. So that was Ranjna Patel, an exceptional woman. You would like to know, you can Google her, you can watch this episode. If you wish to connect with her personally, you can visit the temple. You will be surprised how amazing work she have done and how much warmth she have for everybody. So thank you so much. We'll see you at the next episode.